the May meeting of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors to order. We'll start off with roll call. Okay, and we're all here tonight. Good. So with that, we'll stand for the silent prayer and a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You all have agenda sent to you, so I'm looking for a motion to approve that agenda. Motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Wadle, second by Mr. Fossard. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, passes. And the minutes from the April 16th, 2024 organizational meeting was sent to you. Is there any additions or corrections to that? Okay, seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve that. Okay, motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Gray. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, public comments tonight. We have two people that asked to comment. And I'm just gonna read something here. Please keep in mind that the county board will not be able to respond to your comments or ask you any questions. Your comments are informational only. If further action is required, your comments or concerns will be directed to the appropriate department or committee for response. And typically, we get back to you within the next week on that. So just so you know. So the first person tonight that requested to speak is Dan Rober. So Dan, would you come up to the mic, please?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm here in reference to the county public boat landing on Big Hills Lake. The dock was put in probably 3-4 weeks ago, I think now. When the dock was put in, where the launch pad is, where you back your boat, your trailer into the water, the dock, I measured it, is 10.5 feet away from the launch pad itself, which makes it extremely difficult to launch any kind of a watercraft, a boat or anything. Makes it dangerous. People with some sort of disability are not able to walk into the water to get the boat off the trailer or back on the trailer. So I'm asking if it can be looked at to move the dock alongside the launch pad. When I did notice that, I did call the Waushara County Parks and Recreation Department. Talked to a lady there, I don't recall her name, but she did call me back within an hour. She said she'd look into it. She called me back within an hour. She said she talked to the person in charge of setting the docks at the lake, and she said she was told that the dock was put where it is due to the landscaping that they're doing in the area, which I personally don't understand what that would have to do with it, but maybe it does. And she also said that because the dock itself was damaged last year by a boat, that they didn't want to put it next to the launch. So I'm asking if it can be looked at to put the dock along the launch pad so we can launch our boats. That's all I ask.
Very good. Thank you. And the second one is Sam Wood.
So here we are again, another board meeting. And again, I get to stand before you, bring up the fact I'm still waiting on the termination or resignation of Brian Freimark and George Nye. Now I get it. This puts you as a board in a really rough spot. And how dare I be so bold and upfront with these demands? Well, it's simple for me. It started with George Nye attacking me and Brian Freimark doing nothing about it. What it has evolved into is me coming to these meetings month after month, exposing the incompetence of Brian or the fact that he believes he is untouchable. Let's be honest, Brian Freimark, for whatever reason, is not capable of doing the job we need him to do and is in way over his head. The parking lot to this building is just another example of that. In March of 2023, Brian asked the Public Works Committee for $225,000 to purchase a paving machine because the one the county owned would not do parking lots. Well, it's obvious the one he purchased doesn't do them either. Now, Brian assures us that he can fix the parking lot, but I ask at what cost? We've already paid once. I'm assuming he assured you that he could do it when he was approved for $225,000 that was not in his budget. If I was a betting man, I would be all in on we were going to be settling for a substandard parking lot on this beautiful new building. Now the concrete, that's another issue, which I'm sure is being addressed with the subcontractor who we can hold accountable, unlike Brian. I know some of you are trying to do right and address my issues, but receiving pushback from others. And some of you could actually care less, and my issues don't really matter. But I promise you, I'm not going away. And sooner or later, you will have to deal with them, and my list of issues keeps growing. Take the remainder of my time and ask yourself, am I wrong? Are my issues real? And what would you do if you were attacked by a county employee and seemed like nobody else was taking you seriously? Sometimes silence can be deafening. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into unfinished business. There is none. New business tonight. Reports. The county administrator's monthly report. Ruth was not able to be here because our meeting got pushed off, but she did send out a written report that you all got. You all have a chance to read that. And do you have any questions on it? Okay, hearing none. Oh, did somebody have one? Yeah, do you have a question?
In it, she talked about establishing I skimmed through this. She addressed some issues that we're thought discuss here tonight.
We are, you mean as far as like the administrator or his interview committee or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's later on in the agenda. Yep. But she was just gonna bring it up in her report.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
No.
Anything else anybody else sees? All right, very good. We'll move into the second one then, the Department of Aging and Disability Services Annual Report with our Director Debbie Pavla. Right, Debbie.
Good evening. Do I need to be even closer? Can you hear me okay? All right, thanks. All right, well, I'm excited to be here. Maybe first one to give the annual report in our new governance center, so that's kind of a thrill for me. So we'll take a look back at 2023, and I want to start with our, let's see if I can get this to go over here. There we go, it's a little bit too far. So we are in the process right now of doing our next 3-year aging services plan, and as part of that, we always review our vision, mission, initiative, value statements. It's been a while since we have really made any significant changes to them, but as we had went through this change of renaming our department from Waushara County Department of Aging to Waushara County Department of Aging and Disability Services, we felt it was really time to take a deeper dive, a deeper look into it, and kind of take a look and make sure that we were being inclusive of all the populations that we serve. So essentially, our vision is to provide programs and advocacy that support independent living. And we do that by identifying needs, providing quality services, and advocating for essential programs that empower older adults and individuals with disabilities and their care partners to promote independence, remain engaged in the community, and experience quality of life. Then our initiatives are to empower individuals to make informed choices, remove barriers, and streamline access to services and support, provide information and create opportunities for safe and healthy living, advocate on essential issues along with clients and participants, promote abilities and positive views on disabilities and aging, and respectfully and compassionately provide quality service with a commitment to equity, inclusivity, diversity, fairness, and dignity. And then we do add team values. We use these in the hiring process and sort of our day-to-day standards for operating. So I am going to take the time just to look through, to read through them, and trust me, I won't read everything in this PowerPoint. But for us as a department, character matters. We are polite, courteous, kind, and professional. Commitment to quality. We respond quickly to needs and provide high-quality customer service. Community engagement, we value partnerships and build a strong volunteer core to enhance and sustain service delivery. Team environment, we perform at a high level, utilizing a team approach to service, and we do take time to celebrate accomplishments. Fiscal responsibility, we respectfully operate in the most efficient manner possible without sacrificing quality service and continuously evaluate long-term program sustainability. So I know that the county has a strategic planning committee, and I've not gotten approval from them that these mission and vision statement for that are okay, but this is where we're at in the process, and we will do any revising that is necessary as we go along. Some of the highlights for us, primarily in 2023 and early 2024, obviously the Play City Center opened in June, and that was super exciting and has had great response since it has opened. Our staffing levels, we had such hardship during the pandemic and for a couple of years after, but by August of 2023, we were feeling like we were back at levels that we could work with. Obviously, our department name change, which I mentioned already. And then we just celebrated our 50th anniversary, March 26th of 2024. So it was 50 years ago that the county established a commission on aging. And so we had fun with that and gave some tours of the old courthouse. Judge Wilcox had come and participated in our event. So that was a nice day. We also, as an agency, have received our Purple Angel Award, and we encourage all departments of the county to consider going through that training, which really is just a dementia-friendly training to learn how to communicate more effectively with people who have Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. And we transitioned our nutrition and transportation programs to a new software system, still actually in the process of completing that, but one of the things, for example, like with our home delivered meals, is that all of the drivers receive mobile phones, and they're able to, as they go from home to home, they're able to just send a message, just hit a button and say that meal was delivered, or the person wasn't home, and they can also order a meal for the next day. So it's been very efficient and has saved us quite a bit of time in the office. And then, of course, we survived the move, which was just recently, as you all know. We were the last department in the courthouse. We thought that was kind of fun to be there. Moving companies showed up at 8 in the morning, and by noon they were done on Tuesday. And I believe at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they officially locked the doors to the courthouse and to the public. And we were, because few of us still in there, working through the rest of the day. So those are just some quick highlights. This is a budget summary for 2023. So you can see our total expenses, which were up just shy of $50,000 from the year prior, but our county levy contribution of 23% was exactly the same as it was in 2022. So we obviously picked up some other revenue in either grants of purchase service or donation money. When we submit our annual budget, we we have performance goals that we have to submit, and these are the primary goals that I include. So 77% of our funds are non-levy funds. When no matter what service we provide, we're required to track our services. So for Older Americans Act, and what we call non-Older Americans Act, units of service, there were 61,343. And then in addition to that, 10,308 ARC contacts, plus I believe, about another 1,200 for our disability benefit services there. Our home delivered meals average fee and donation combination was $4.88, which was pretty much the same as 2022. And for dining centers, it was $4.25, which was actually up 40 cents from 2022. And then our average fee received for each ride and transportation was $10.27, which was up 68 cents from 2022 and $2.16 from 2021. So in 2022, we had gone through a big revision to our revenues, and actually you can see that it made a difference coming in there. Right. Some of the challenges that we face now is that our ARPA funds, we have received separate ARPA funds from the county, and those will be ending September 30th of this year. Our food costs remain high. I was looking back over between 21, 22, 23, and our food costs actually increased around $43,000. So that is why the next statement is there, which we need to reduce our nutrition program by about 50,000, because once the ARPA dollars go away, we won't have that money to offset that increase in food costs. Now, we have heard on the news that food costs are starting to come down a little bit, but they need to come down a lot more to make up that difference. So in the meantime, we have put together a sustainability work group, and what we're doing is looking at all of the different things of how we operate our nutrition program and how we might be more efficient as we go. So again, that goal of needing to reduce that budget by about 50,000. Volunteer drivers is a big concern for me. When I started here, we had about 27 to 30 volunteer drivers. The pandemic did us in, cut that in half, and now we're down to about 8 to 10 active volunteer drivers. If we continue on this trend, we're going to have a significant problem with transportation in the future. So that's another thing that we're pulling together as a group and trying to work on. How do we, what is this going to look like in the future for us? Will we be able to recruit volunteer drivers down the road, or will we have to look at a different way of providing those transportation services? And then, of course, always, at the federal level where we get quite a bit of our funds, those funds, it appears, are going to be reduced as well. We don't know by how much yet, but for 2025, I'm sure it'll be a slight reduction at least. In our nutrition program, when we took a look at our 50 years, we looked back and estimated that we had, over all of that time, did 2,250,000 meals approximately. But we do an average of anywhere between 40 and 45, 46,000 meals per year. See, I think I talked about some of these things already. One of the things when we looked at program efficiencies is that during the pandemic, we were prior to the pandemic, we were delivering meals to home delivered participants 5 times a week, so each day. And then during the pandemic, we went to 3 days a week, and we have not changed that and gone back because it is quite a savings to do it, obviously, 3 days a week rather than 5. The biggest, I guess, difference there is that the individuals are not getting a daily safety check, which is really a very important part of the program. I can't tell you how many people we found on the floor or in different health conditions when we arrive. So that safety check is important, but in all of the years now that we've been doing the 3-day-a-week delivery, I've never once had a single complaint from anyone, so I figure that's a good sign. So it appears to be working. So, I mentioned the sustainability work group is gonna be looking at everything possible to see how we can continue to sustain the nutrition program. Transportation is another one of our big programs, and we do about 6,000 trips a year. Last year, 2023, we needed to complete our 5-year coordination plan for transportation, so those goals of that plan are listed there. But essentially, we have committed to putting together a task force, which is really gonna be looking at all, in transportation, it's not so much the money. I mean, money is always important, and looking for sustainability is always important, but it's more about meeting the need. And a lot of the need that we get requested is either after hours, weekends, and then employment, because employment, a lot of the employment is after hours, and right now we just can't meet that need with the funds that we have available. So we're trying to pull in new people and different ideas and just looking at different funding sources. For our department is really just required to focus on specialized transportation. So what that means is elders and individuals with disabilities. But we know in Westchester County that the public need for transportation is there, and so we try to work with that as well and see what we can do to meet those needs. So if we can talk about the Aging and Disability Resource Center for a bit, you can see the activity that we did in 2023. The new thing in 2023 was a pilot program that came to the ADRCs. It was called the Independent Living Support Program, where individuals could apply for up to $7,200 for maybe adaptive equipment or modifications, support services. So for our ADRC, which includes Adams and Green Lake County, as well as Waushara, we had 60 spots. So in all 3 counties, we served 60 people with that additional funds. So that was a nice thing for those individuals. That program technically has ended. We're not enrolling anybody else into the program at this time, although they do have until next March, I believe the end of March, to spend out the money that they were awarded. So the big topic about the ADRC is related to what's the resolution that's on the county board tonight for you to consider. We have spent about a year and a half actually as a tri-county. We went through what we call the realignment process. So really just looking to see, do we still have the same understanding of the ADRC, how it operates, our philosophy, our structure, our staffing structure, things like that. And then we took the time to put everything in writing, to update our MOU agreements, and to look at our organizational chart and get everything in alignment, because the hardest part is organizational leadership in a tri-county operation. You have an ADRC director over all 3 counties, but then you also have the local directors. And so that line of authority and who's responsible for what took us a long time to sort out, because there were differences of opinion in how that worked. And then just agencies wanting to be really integrated. When you have a tri-county operation, it's a little bit harder to, as a local agency, be as integrated as you want to be with the other programs and services that are offered. And then obviously financial efficiencies was one of the big elements. And the state did receive some additional funding for ADRCs effective 2024. Took them a while to decide how they were going to roll out those funds, what funding formula they were going to use. So we didn't really know until actually early 2024 what that was going to look like. And when we did, and we sat down as a tri-county consortium and looked at the funding, we could easily see that with the increase that we could operate as single ADRCs if that's what we chose to do. There are pros and cons both ways. Sharing staff when there's vacancies, when there's conflict of interest, things like that, that's a pro. There's sharing our health promotion coordinator, sharing an ADRC director, those are all positive things. But again, from some of the other things like I mentioned, like fully integrating as an agency, those are some of the cons. It's harder to do that when you're operating as a tri-county. sometimes it's hard for staff to understand who they're supposed to be reporting to, things like that. Our intention was to move forward as a tri-county, but at the last minute, Green Lake County decided that they wanted to separate from the consortium and apply to be a single county ERC. That's what started this entire process of us dissolving. I think they looked at really what Jason, who's in charge of human services there, said. He really just wants a fully integrated agency. And so that was his primary reason for wanting to make the change. You can see how much of a difference that his funding is, the 239, I believe it says, without my glasses, or I could have glasses, but it's compared to like the 300,000+ for Adams and Broward County. So if he thinks that he can make it as a single county ERC on those funds, then certainly Adams and Broward can do that as well with the funds that we'll be receiving. What it breaks down to for Broward County is approximately $110,000 increase in contract funds. So what we need to cover with those funds are the ARC leadership, how to fit that in, and then the financial support that Green Lake County was supplying. Those are the two primary needs that we need to fit in with that extra funding. The numbers off to the side there, that just shows that we also run our elder benefit funds through the program as well. So I wanted to just include those. And then the ARC allows us to take our contract dollars, and for any activity that we do that's related to Medicaid services, we're able to draw down between 50 and 75% additional funds from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So that's a really nice addition to the revenue source for us, which in 2023 was $163,000. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, the only other thing I would say right now, and unless you guys have questions about this, is that we do, this is an amicable divorce, if you will. We still plan to work closely together, especially with our health promotion programs. All three counties have agreed to putting in a certain level of funding to maintain that position through an MOU agreement. And because we employ that employee, I've asked for a 3 to 5 year commitment on that, and a 6 months notice if they ever want to pull out of that agreement. And they've all verbally said yes, and we're in the process right now of getting that MOU written and signed. So the other thing that we'll do is have MOUs to share some of the employees if there were conflict of interest or vacancy issues. And so those being some of the pros of being a consortium, we're covering it through those MOU agreements, and everyone's supportive of that. So realistically, from my perspective, applying as a single county, I think that financially we're going to actually benefit, and it will help us long-term, I believe, with our budgets as we go forward. Does anyone have questions about the ADRC? Because I know there's that resolution that you're going to be considering. I will give an update that both Green Lake County and Adams County boards have approved their resolutions. So how the state works this process too is that once one county in a consortium decides to withdraw or dissolve from the consortium, then every county has to reapply. So Adams and Broward could have decided to work together as a consortium and applied as a 2-county ARC consortia, but we had talked about it, and again, from the financial standpoint, it just made sense for us to apply as a single county as well. It is a full-fledged reapplication process, even though we've been running an ADRC for all these years, but we have to apply. It's like 26 to 45 page document and letters of support and the whole thing. So, any questions on that? All right. Just jump quickly here. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but these are some of the other programs and educational activities that we offer. I don't know if you saw our little extra classroom or training room, and we just love that. We're so excited to get some programs going there, and some programs and partnerships that we have in place. If you have questions about any of these, I'll be happy to answer them. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the process of writing our 2025 to 2027 aging services plan, which is a state requirement and actually a federal requirement as well. So if there's anything that you know of that you think is important for us to consider in that planning process, definitely let me know or speak out about it. Our draft plan is due by the end of July to the state. So, any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Debbie? Thank you, Debbie. Very good report. It's obvious your department touches so many lives. And with the other two counties pulling out, I guess we really don't have much of a choice.
Not
Thank you for making it sound like we did anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for answering our questions there too. Good. Okay, then we'll move on to part B, discussion possible motion action items. First one is amendments to the county board bylaws. You got this in your packet, and it's mostly changing like to the government center, changing wording to the government center. There's a few things like with the facilities and parks to get that wording correct for the reporting to the proper committees. So does anybody have any questions on that? If not, I would look for a motion to approve those. You have a question?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Peterson. Is there a second? Second by Urban. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, then we'll go ahead and vote on that. Okay, the amendment passes. The second one is the opioid settlement proceeds request TrueNarc equipment for Waushara County Sheriff's Office. I don't know if you read that too, but that's so they don't, it's kind of a hands-free way of testing for if a package or whatever would have fentanyl and stuff. Is that right, Jim? That's kind of what it is. So it'd be like a hands-free kind of way to test to make sure that packages don't have.
Correct. Currently, if we arrest somebody for possession of drugs, we use a testing pouches, a deputy or officer, if we work for the municipalities, has a little scoop to go into the bag, put it in to what we believe it would be. You have to break 2 or 3 capsules depending on what the product is, shake it, and then hopefully get a result. This takes the exposure part out of it. So if it's a clear package or if it's a jar with liquid, you hold the device up to the packaging and the laser goes through, analyzes what's inside, and excuse me, gives you a readout as to what is the product is in that package. That is something, if passed, that we would have available to all municipalities within the county. It would be housed at the sheriff's department. And anybody that is arrested has to come to the sheriff's department anyways for the jail. And our guys would be there to be able to let an officer use the equipment for testing as well. The biggest part of this is it really limits the exposure that our guys have to an unknown substance.
Okay, sounds good. And this is coming from the opioid settlement proceeds. It's different than what's on our list, I believe, and that's why we're bringing it here. So with that, is there any, is anybody have any questions?
Is it, can use the button. How's the accuracy on it? Is it accepted like in court, just like the
Yes.
file testing?
Yep. I've not personally used the device. Sergeant Gunderson has used it. With anything, there's some degree of misinterpretation. There's not a lot with this machine, and if it gets to the point where charges are filed and the court data set, we are allowed to send it then to the crime lab for their analysts to test. They are just so overwhelmed that we just can't send everything down that we find. The NARC patches that or pouches that we use, if we think it's cocaine and it doesn't test positive for cocaine, then we don't know what it is. This device would allow us to be able to know what is in that package.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then I look for a motion to accept. So we get a motion by Kirschner, second by Urban. Is there any other discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote then. Okay, and that passes. Okay, number 3, updates to the capital improvements plan, the policy and procedures. In this, I don't know if you read through it, but it's kind of defining a proper protocol for the department heads to request capital purchases and just showing how it'll go through the chain of people to get put on the budget. So does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, I would look for a motion to approve it. Okay, motion by Mr. Gray. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. We'll go ahead and vote. Okay, and the motion passes. Next will be updates to the property disposal policy. And you got that, that's more or less just saying that the facilities and parks will be in charge of getting rid of our excess things, putting it on auction sites or donating or whatever. So is there a motion to accept that, or is there any questions concerning it? Quite originally. Motion by Mr. Foster, or do you have a question, Dave?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Foster, second by Mr. Waddle. All right, any other discussion? Okay, proceed to vote on that then. Okay, and the motion passes. Utilizing grant funding for the purchase of UTV and trailer for the Emergency Medical Services Department. Now, this is all like extra ARPA money, isn't it? Is that correct? Yeah, okay. Does anybody have any questions on this? Purchases UTV for emergency management? For EMS?
Director, explain it a little bit.
Yeah,
further.
sure. Yeah, would you mind coming up and just explaining a little bit for us, Keith?
Good evening. So we're requesting a UTV for EMS. Several times last year, we had patients that were off trails on UTV trails, back trails, logging trails, those types of things. And even though all the fire departments have UTVs, the majority of those UTVs are set up for firefighting purposes with water tanks and those types of things. So in those cases, we were unable to secure UTV during those emergencies, and actually ended up having to use pickup trucks, putting a patient on a backboard, sliding them in the back of a pickup truck, and having a care provider, 2 care providers and the patient riding unsecured in the back of the pickup truck, which is absolutely just not safe. It's also not built for patient transport, so it's pretty bumpy ride. So you run the risk of causing more damage when you're not securing them properly. This UTV would be outfitted with a full cot, just like that goes into our ambulance. It's enclosed in the front, so there's heat, there's air conditioning. It's an all seasons type vehicle that we can use. With EMS vehicles, in order to be an EMS specialty vehicle, we do have to send it down to the state and register it for emergency medical services, so that they know that we're using a vehicle for transportation of a patient, and have it officially approved. So that's where kind of, the sheriff has one and Parks has one. However, if we're gonna apply for the specialty vehicle, it has to be a 24/7 thing that's housed with EMS so that we can use it for situations. During the wintertime, we did have a mass casualty situation that happened out at the ski hill. Again, we utilized 2 pickup trucks to literally drive people off of the ski hills, which was we made it work. It got a little dicey at sometimes, and I'd really rather not throw one of our care providers out of a vehicle. So we applied to the state. This is not ARPA funding that was given to Waushara County that we're asking to spend. This is additional ARPA money that the state had, and they were looking for additional requests. So this actually doesn't take anything away from our funding. It was already approved by the state for additional funds.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, I would look for a motion to approve that then.
I have one more question.
One more question, I guess, Keith.
Where will this be housed?
Station 1.
Okay.
Yeah. That way we can move it to anywhere in the county. Luckily, we have the pickup truck And then we're gonna outfit one of our outgoing ambulances with a hitch also. That way we can carry, things for all of our firefighting. We do plan to take it out to all of our wildland fires and extended fires. We found that, when firefighters get pretty pooped and it's a long walk, being able to get them back and rehab to appropriately. So we'll keep that station one.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I look for a motion to approve it then. Motion by Mr. Kirschner, second by Mr. Bossard. Any other discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote on that then. Okay, the motion passes. All right, the next is the creation of an interview committee for the county administrator position, and the appointment of members to said committee. Now, I'm sure you saw, we had 37 people apply, and so this committee would be, when I talked to Ruth, she recommended like 3 to 5 people. Because if we get over 5, then it's a quorum and we'd have to have, it'd be an official, we'd have to have a notice meeting and everything. So this committee basically would be kind of setting up the rules and would narrow down that list to an appropriate number. But you will all have a say in who the final person would be, along with department heads and stuff. So I guess with that, I would just like to open up some discussion on this to see what your feeling is on number, and how we proceed with that. If you, like, I know in the past, we've used the executive committee and we can pick a couple more, or I can pick a couple more, whatever your I guess pleasure is there. So does anybody have any thoughts on it? I'm interested in it. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts of the committee makeup or size or whatever?
What exactly will this committee address initially, or will totally?
At that, it would determine how we would narrow down that list, I guess. I don't really have that. That hasn't really been brought out. We have, what we asked for when we put out ask for people to apply, we put out the list of the requirements, and I guess that group would look at it and narrow it down to the people that would be most appropriate to bring forward to interview. Kind of like the headhunters did the last time, but we would be doing it internally instead of having a third party do that for us. So, but as to how, what we're looking at, that really hasn't been determined. So I don't know if either of you have any, have you talked to Ruth at all on this, or not really? No. Okay.
Sorry, so what do we have to stay under 5? 5 supervisors?
That's what she recommended. Otherwise it gets to be so large, it's hard to make any headway.
Could I make a motion to appoint executive committee plus 2 that we vote on?
Like this evening? I would think that would be appropriate, sure. Okay, that motion's been made. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, motion by Mr. Gray. All right, then let's open that up for discussion. Any discussion on that?
I still think that you're gonna block out a number of members of the board that should be involved in this. That's the impression I get.
I don't know. I mean, I think we're just gonna bring it down to a reasonable number, because there will be some, I mean, this came from all different servers, like from Indeed and from different things. And I know Deb had told me one was a barista or something, I mean, so they just apply for it. So those kind of people will be cut out of it. So I think it'll be just bringing it down to a reasonable number of people. So
And that's all that committee will do.
yes, I believe that's all it will do.
And
But the committee, or our whole county board, will have a lot more hands-on with the hiring process than we had last time. And last time we got it to a point where we had brought it down to 4 candidates. And then, we discussed, but I think we'll bring it down to more. And then from there, we'll use the entire county board to,
Could we make that part of the motion? Just say like. This committee can
Updates.
narrow it down to
With
five
updates.
candidates or.
Okay,
I do, if I can, I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I think part of Ruth's concern with it was having all 11 on an interview
Yeah,
would be too excessive. So I think that that's where this interview committee is coming from. That obviously all 11 want to be involved, but that having all 11 members sitting in an interview would be too much.
mhm. And like last time, we had like that meet and greet kind of an event where all the candidates went from table to table. You could come in if you chose to and speak to them. Those kind of things will kind of informal meetings when they get it narrowed down. So. So, okay, you want to add that to it, that you want to have at least
Well, I
5
don't know,
or?
is that appropriate that? We,
Like a minimum of 5?
yeah, a minimum of 5 and then it can go to county board of supervisors for review from that.
Is that, who seconded that? Mr. Gray, is that all right with you? All right. So is there any other discussion on that?
So you're saying that this committee will bring it down to 5 candidates?
Would be at least 5. So there could be more. Otherwise,
I am-
and it's true, it's like Megan said, and I've been in, and you've probably been in some interviews as well. If you get 11 people interviewing, it's almost impossible. That's just a lot of people to try to interview somebody. So, and I feel bad Deb isn't here tonight, but she had a family member pass away, so she couldn't be here, but I'm sure she would say the same thing.
But when you get down to 5, how's that gonna change 11 members? That's my question. If it's cumbersome to do interviews with 11 members,
Well, I think
Why is it
it would
not
be more on a recommendation than you'd meet them. It wouldn't be so much you'd be in on the interview process. You'd be more meeting them and giving like a recommendation like we did the last time. Yeah. Did you go to that last time when we had a meet and greet for the 4 candidates?
no, I did not.
Okay, what was that? It was just kind of informal. They went from table to table and just met everybody. And then from that, you could give your opinion of what you thought of each, what candidate you liked and why, things like that.
And then this committee would ultimately be making the decision based on feedback from the full county board then.
Right, the ultimate decision, yeah, I'm sure that would come from the full county board. And there again, I'm saying this, I don't really know exactly how this is all gonna go, because the people that do this professionally aren't here. But that's just what I'm assuming from talking to them as much as I have. And I know from being in other interviewing processes too, if you get too many people, it just gets almost impossible, to hold to conduct a good interview, I guess.
I think I'm gonna pull my motion and suggest that we table this until Ruth is here, Deb, to explain it better.
Do you want to try and get Ruth on the phone?
Ruth did say we could get her on the phone if you would like to do that as well, so.
Would you want to do that? Let's do that, because I think she does want to create something tonight. And I said, it's too bad it wasn't last week, because then. I guess give them more of a detail of the function and the.
Hello?
Hi Ruth, this is the county board, room calling you. We just want to let you know you're on speaker with everybody.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, Ruth, this is John Jarvis. So the question is, like I explained, we'd like to keep the committee probably in a 3 to 5 member group. And Supervisor King is concerned that the entire county board won't have a say in who we bring forward, even narrowing it down from that 37. And I guess I don't have a good explanation as to, what would be the pros and cons and just exactly what the function of the committee would be.
Well, I think that one of the biggest con is how do the 11 of you come up with who you're going to interview? Because you're not going to interview all 37 people, right? I mean, that would be a very difficult task to do. So I don't know how, I mean, unless you come up with some kind of like thing that you can agree on that you get to, like, it's everybody like scores each application and it's the top so many scores that you're going to interview. Like, can you set a number of people that you want to interview? Can you figure out how? I don't care if all 11 of you do it. I just think that that's very cumbersome, and I don't know how you would agree on who you're even going to interview. So if you want it to be all 11 of you, then we need to talk about how do we decide which of those 37 people we're going to interview.
And I pointed out that the last time we had that meet and greet and afterwards, the people that attended that could give their opinion of the candidates. And I said we probably could hold an event similar to that, if that would be.
Well, we can, but we can, and I think that it was very beneficial to have the department heads meet those final candidates. But I guess that the question is, if you're concerned that someone in that 37 you have a strong feeling should have been interviewed and you don't even get to look at that 37, then that's a different thing. If so, I guess I'm not 100% sure what you want to do, but if you want all of you to like see the applications, then we need to have a closed meeting, because none of that information is available to the public until it becomes a final candidate. And then like I can go through every single application with you, and then we need to have a process on how you're going to narrow it down to who even gets an interview.
Okay, and would that be similar even if we were at 6 members or 7 members as all 11?
Well,
is it just over a quorum or under a quorum? What's the difference there with being?
Well, yeah, probably you're still going to have a process on how you're going to narrow it down.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions then for Ruth?
So Ruth, would that be all the task for this committee? Just narrowing down the applications?
I guess that is up to you. If you want somebody to narrow them down and all 11 of you want to be involved in an interview, we can do that. 11 people in an interview is also, it's a lot for an individual to come in and face all 11 of you in a first interview. If you could also do it where the committee narrows it down and then does a first interview. You could just have all 11 of you, we could all meet, and the 11 of you could decide which ones get the first interview, and then you can do it all different kinds of ways. The issue is if it's too big, sometimes it is overwhelming and people do really horrible in interviews when they are faced with sitting in front of 11 people. We'd have to be very organized about who's going to ask questions, how they're going to get asked, to make sure that we don't ask questions that we're not allowed to ask. We would have to come up probably again with some type of scoring so that each of you would like write down your scores on the questions, like what was most important to you, and then somehow again narrow it down. And then I don't know if you would have a second interview or if you would have 2 or 3 that you would pick out of what you interviewed. I guess we can do it any kind of way you want to do it, but I guess, you know, how many people do you want to interview the first round? How many people do you want to be involved in the interview? How do you want to select which of those people are going to be interviewed? I mean, there's all of these kind of questions that need to be answered.
Okay, Ruth, we did have a motion, and I think it may have been rescinded now, but the motion was that that the committee would consist of 5 members. 3 would be the executive committee, and then 2 others would be voted on this evening. And then they would come up with a list of at least 5 candidates.
Okay.
I don't know if that would sound reasonable, if that's
Yep, that sounds reasonable. And then when it comes up with those 5 candidates, do you want all 5 of those candidates to then meet with the entire county board, or how do you want that? What's that next step look like?
okay, well, we can, I guess that's what we can bring forward, unless someone else has any other questions for Ruth, no. Are you, what's on your mind there, Pat?
No. This is probably more of a process thing than anything else, but when you are looking at these applications, are you blocking out their names so that you're not having a situation where someone is prejudiced towards someone that they like? Because there are some, I believe, members of the employment here. I don't know.
Well, I can present them any way that you want to present them. So there were 37 candidates. 4 are internal. 32 of the 37 are from Wisconsin. You know, so that leaves 5 that are from out of state. You know, like, however you would like me to present those to you, I can certainly do that. And we can have a special county board meeting in closed session to go over the candidates, and I can give you whatever information you want to have, whether that's without names and just qualifications or whatever process you want.
Go ahead, Dave.
Wouldn't the resume of the candidate give away if it was an internal position regardless, Mr. King?
That's probably true, but I don't know. I think that, well, no, I'm just saying, you want to make it as fair as you can for everybody.
Right, exactly, that's true, and that's why we're discussing it, so.
But I'm still come back to the idea that we want, that I thought that majority of, I won't speak for the new members, but most of us wanted to be involved in this process. And if you limit it to just 5, I think that's not gonna happen. And all of a sudden we have 5 people and
So I guess that's the choices. I mean, because obviously, I mean, you get 37 people, some of them won't be appropriate, or, you know, and we'd all have to agree on that. I guess just what you would be comfortable with as a number to come down to, you know.
one of the things that Ruth just said is that the county board would be involved, could possibly be involved in a closed session,
Right.
at least go over the applications
Yep.
in general and kind of get a feel. I mean, I don't know, but if there are some people that are just obviously not qualified, you can eliminate those, and that should be pretty obvious, but
Right.
it would be, that could be done in a closed session.
Okay.
Sure, we could do a special county board meeting, have a closed session, and then in that closed session, you could decide which candidates you want to interview, and then we could go back into open session and discuss whether it's going to be all 11 of you interviewing, whether it's going to be 5 of you interviewing, whether there's going to be like what the next step process is.
That would be an option. And then, like you said, there's certain protocols that HR would have to go through with us too, because that, you know, we have to ask the same question, same way, things like that. So, yes.
Well, and I think if all 11 of you are going to be involved in an interview panel, I think what would be best is that there would be a moderator, either, you know, myself or Deb or somebody who we would prepare a list of questions beforehand. I would get input from everybody on what type of questions they wanted to ask, what was the most important things. And then you guys would just score each of the answers from each of the people that you interview. And then we would talk about the scores at the end and see where we were at on who would go on to, you know, maybe a meet and greet with the department heads to give you additional input, or a second interview, or what. But if you're going to do an interview panel with all of you, I think that there should be one designated person who asks the questions, and then we set up a scoring system.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I agree with that. I think we should do like a closed session and just kind of weed through it, and then after that you can, and what Ruth just said, I think for interviewing wouldn't be a bad idea either. I get there's 11 of us, but we don't all have to ask the question, but we could all be there to actually see the interview. Sure. Because you get a lot just from the body language and whatever.
Okay.
So that'd be my option, is the first step we would do is go for a closed session meeting to weed these people out, and then the committee can go further into it or something.
Okay. No,
I rescind my motion.
you did. Okay.
And then I would make a motion, or should someone else make that motion? I can make the motion. Okay, so I rescind that one. And then I'd make a motion that all 11 supervisors be involved with a closed session, reviewing applicants, advancing them forward, and then we would appoint a moderator to ask the questions that the board comes up with while we could all observe the answers.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, second by Mr. Waddle. Yep, Mr. Peterson.
Mr. Gray have to rescind his second though.
I don't know. I don't believe so.
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so. Is there any other questions to this end? So you know what we're voting for then? Did you have a question? You did, okay.
No.
Yeah, so the motion is that all 11 of us will meet the 37 candidate, or meet the 37 candidates and choose from there who we want to interview further. Or we'll all be presented, to us. Yeah.
The applications.
We'll get their applications, right, at the same time in a closed session. Okay, yeah, and then we'll leave that, sometime, it'll be quite soon, I think. So we can get moving with this process,
Do
so.
we need to schedule that right now?
Okay, let's vote on the motion first.
Okay. So is there any other discussion on this motion? Okay, you're all clear on what we're voting for. All right, then go ahead and vote on that.
My tablet died again.
Oh, no.
It just says something's wrong or something isn't right. Oh, I just went through that. Okay, what the call? Thank you.
Okay, and that motion passes. So then we'll have to determine when we can meet. And Pat, do you want the names blacked out then? Is that the thought? Or what level of secrecy do you want on the where they're from?
Well,
think it's important that we know.
Yeah, it's cool.
Who they are. Yeah, okay,
I mean, it's gonna come out eventually.
sure, yep, and like Mr. Bossert had said as well, you know, you're gonna probably know when you read the applicants, so.
Reject.
Mhm. Any other discussion on that part? Ruth, what is your wish as to how soon you wanna have this?
I,
I know,
whatever, what date works for you guys, and I'll let you know if it works.
um, it's everybody's pleasure. Week from tonight is the 4th. Is that work in everybody's schedule? For that closed session meeting,
What was it again?
the 4th? Yeah,
6 o'clock?
does that work for you, Ruth?
Yep.
The 4th, all right. Is that acceptable to everybody? All right, we'll make that for the 6 o'clock on the 4th, and we'll have a closed session to look at the applicants and move some names forward. Good. All right, that'll work. Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yep, you're welcome.
Before Ruth goes.
Oh, wait a second, Ruth. We catch it?
Ruth, you missed, you
Yeah.
didn't, present your, report. I did have one question on that report. Could I?
Okay.
Yep, you can ask.
The parking, I drive by here almost every day. And the parking lot is completely full of cars. And they're the same cars every time, so I know they're all employees that are parking out there. And I thought when I was on buildings and grounds, I thought it was explained that the parking for the employees would be behind the sheriff's department and not in the general parking lot there.
Yes, but the parking behind the sheriff's department is not built yet because that was taken out of the building project when the EOC was taken out. And so Samuel's group did not do that. So Brian and Mike and I are now working on a plan so that we can come forward with a cost for that and get that built. So right now that is not built. So we are 30 spots shorter than what we were at the other building. And the employees are supposed to be parking between the jail and the sheriff's department and along the edges, not in the center, so that can be left open for the public. But we are short on parking right now, but we are working on a plan and coming up with a cost for that so that we can get that done yet. But it's going to take us a couple of months to get it built.
In the meantime, like you said, when there's like a court date or something, MEC has agreed to let us park there if we need to.
I have to contact them to make sure that it's not going to be a problem, but yes, they had previously said that they would allow overflow parking. So our first jury trial is this week on Thursday, and we've asked employees to park over by the training doors for the sheriff's department and in the kitchen area, so that at least until 10 o'clock on Thursday, once the jury's picked. Once the jury's picked, then we should be able to accommodate everything. Last week, we added the 19 spots between the jail and the government center. So that should also be helping. We've moved the county cars so that they are not in the lot. Hopefully, we'll have less construction and different service people in the parking lot, so that will free up the lots. We're still working on getting the machine to fix the pavement so that we can finish the striping in the main lot. So there's lots of moving pieces on this, but yes, it is short right now, but we are working on a solution.
Just as a note of observation, I did attend a meeting this morning here, and I had to park out on the county highway or county road. in the ditch essentially.
Mhm.
So there are no parking spots. I still think that maybe it should be re-emphasized to the employees that you should try to park as far away. I mean, anyone who runs a business knows that the employees don't park in the front. It's for your customers, and our citizenry is our customers. So they should have a right to those parking spots, not the employees.
All right,
I will send out another message tomorrow. They have been told, but I will remind them that people are not being able to find parking for conducting business and that they need to park far further away as they can.
Okay, thank you, Ruth.
Yep.
okay, anybody have any other questions before we let Ruth go? Okay. All right, again, thanks, Ruth.
Yep. All right. See you tomorrow.
Okay. Very good. All right, very good. So with that, we'll move on to consideration possible action on the following resolutions. Resolution number 14-05-24, resolution authorizing reorganization of facilities and parks management department to address cleaning services. And now this one was, so they're gonna be bringing the cleaning service in-house instead of hiring outside service. That was all in the packet for you. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Is it gonna be budget neutral?
It is. Mike, did you want to address that at all? It's budget neutral. Yeah, it doesn't cost any more.
Actually cheaper.
Sorry, what was the question?
Is it gonna be budget neutral?
It actually is. We're taking the money from the cleaning contract, which will cover all of the expenses for the employee, bringing them in-house. So they will be county employees now.
Do we have the equipment necessary in-house too, or is that's being purchased as part of it?
We do have the equipment. The cleaning crews the outside contractor didn't bring any equipment with them. We do have the equipment. We did purchase as part of our budget last year, a new floor scrubber, and so we're using that equipment.
Anybody else have any questions for Mike? Okay, otherwise I'd look for a motion to approve. Okay, Mr. Kirschner, is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any other discussion? All right, go ahead and vote on that then.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the vote is listing utilizing grant funding for the purchase of UTV and trailer for EMS.
Oh, yeah. It's,
That's not what's up on mine, so I don't.
yeah, that's what's on our.
That's what's showing on your tablet?
Yeah, it's what's showing on our tab.
Yeah.
I guess I wrote. Mine is too.
Let me see.
It says it right up there, but
Yeah, that's not what you had.
Okay, it's changing now.
Is it still?
Yeah, same thing.
Right up on. It's correct on the stream, but it's wrong on the tablet.
We just take a voice vote on that.
Let me just try clearing our motion and see if that does any good. So we had a motion by Kirschner and second by Peterson.
Mhm. No, same thing.
Still the same thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last two, I was looking at the screen up there, but on our screen, it showed just like a generic 1.1 rather than even saying this. So I wonder if maybe there was a couple extra slides in between a couple of the resolutions. And that's why it thinks we didn't do this one yet.
I'm not sure. Mine's been all online up here, but I will just do a manual vote if you're okay with that.
Yep.
So this is resolution number 14-05-24, authorizing reorganization of the Facilities and Parks Management Department to address the cleaning services. Mrs. McCormick? Yes. Mr. Piaski?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Bosshart,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Waddle,
Yes.
Mr. Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Okay, and the resolution passes. Okay, we'll move on to resolution number 15-05 24. Resolution to dissolve a regional aging and disability resource center, ADRC, and approving the application to become a single county ADRC. Is there a motion? Okay, motion by Mr. Waddle, second by Mr. Bossard. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, no. It's coming.
Let's see what comes up.
This
Is it
creation-
skipping ahead again?
No, creation of interview committee for county administrator.
Oh, golly. Well, we'll just do it. Let's go unless you want to do a voice vote.
Yeah, we can do that too. We can just do a voice vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. That's easier. So, all right, number 3, resolution number 16-05 24. Resolution establishing an official logo for Washira County. Now you read the background on this as well, that we had voted on one, but majority of the county was using another. So in strategic planning, we decided it was be best to have one logo that everybody's using. So we went with the one that you saw on your with the notice of the meeting. I think it's online here now. So it'd be probably option A is the one that we had pushed forward. The Washira County, Wisconsin, with the 4 seasons.
It's option B that's shown in the packet?
Is option B that's shown in the packet?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah, that Wisconsin was added later. I think did Mr.
So-
Rubio had done that?
This logo was taken from off of the website build, and then it was being used different places throughout the county. And Wisconsin was like a transparent portion on the website, so when that logo was used, Wisconsin didn't show up on anything with a white background. So I just wanted to clarify, I guess, through strategic planning, first that we use this logo, and then should it keep Wisconsin underneath it? Or as you see, like a lot of things that have gotten put out, doesn't just
Regardless. I don't care.
Okay, any other discussion?
should we could add a font color into the motion.
It doesn't make any difference to me. This is-
Okay, is there any other discussion on the motion? Okay, can we vote
Let's
on
do
it?
voice vote.
Okay, then all in favor? Opposed? Okay, the resolution passes. Resolution number 17-05 24. Resolution of authorizing entry into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement relating to the Wisconsin Investment Series Cooperative and authorizing participation in the investment programs of the fund. Is there a motion for this? Or does anybody want to have any questions on this? We have to make a motion for the places that our county can invest in, and then Jessica, our treasurer, invest in different places, but we have to approve where she can invest in to begin with. But she uses those then as to, you know, where she can invest in, so.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Mr. King. Is there a second? Second by Ms. McCormick. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. The resolution passes. All right, Part D, appointments. The Strategic Planning Committee, Jessica Yeager, County Treasurer, and all these terms are from 2024, May of 2024 through April of 2026. So it's Jessica Yeager, Keith Melvin, EMS Chief, and Bill Rose now, County Veteran Services Officer. So is there a motion to accept them? Motion by Mr. Waddle. Second by Mr. Gray. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, Lake Management Districts, and all these terms are from May of 2024 through May of 2026. And it's John Jarvis is Lake Yurigami Hills, Mount Morrison Alpine. Ms. McCormick is Deer, Pearl, Spring, and Big Hills. Mr. Bossard is Fish, Long, and Oasis, Pine and Hancock and Pleasant. And Mr. Waddle is Buse, Silver, White River Flowage, Lower and the Upper White River Mill Pond. And FSA Representative Sarah Stelter is Johns, Kuzel, Wilson, Round, Marl, and Porters. So is there a motion to accept these? Motion by Mr. Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gray. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, continuation of the appointments. The Commission on Aging, and these terms are June 1st of 2024 through May 31st of 2027. And it's Jeanette Antizak of Watoma, Paula Spielman of Watoma, Mary Pat Thompson of Watoma. Is there a motion to accept? Okay, motion by Mr. King. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossard. Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good, that passes. The Transportation Coordinating Committee, and these are June 1st of 2024 through May 31st of 2027, is Andrea Garcia of Watoma, Eunice Stevens of Watoma, and Debbie Pavla of Watoma.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Bossard. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, very good. Thank you. All right, just move into board suggestions for future agenda items, but before we do, I just wanted to mention to all of you, and I think Megan sent out a thing, if get in contact with her if you wish to attend the WCA conference in September, and I believe it's free to the new members.
Yep, if this is
New
your
board.
first term on the board, the WCA waives registration fees, so we would just have to pay for the hotel.
Yeah, so that's in La Crosse this year. We typically, I think what we have like budgeted like 5. So if everybody wants to go, then we'll limit it, but if, you know, we'll just kind of see what interest we have to begin with, so. And I believe that's like the 3rd week, it's like a Sunday. So, and the second thing is Michelle asked me from administration to tell you to get your expense sheets in. Yeah, 60 days. So make sure you get your expense sheet into her. Usually try and get it done every month. So, and then the last thing is Mary has agreed to take our picture again this evening. So right after, don't run away. We're gonna all get together and get a picture of the county board. So with that, is there any other suggestions for future agenda items? We'll be meeting. Yes.
I know Ruth was going to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
If you want to touch on this, just.
Why don't you go ahead, Bart, if you want to, why we did it.
So Ruth put this out for everybody to talk about, or not for everybody to talk about, but she was just gonna touch base on it. We, as you all know, strategic planning committee is starting to put strategic plan together. For the county, Mr. Jarvis has put together his strategic plan for the county board, and that's what this document here is that we all have in front of us. It wasn't, we didn't have it completed in time to have this an agenda item for today. So she just wanted to hand this out to everybody to look at, and we'll get it on next month's agenda item. So if there's any comments or questions anybody has for that meeting, at least you'll have.
You bring it forward to us. So, good. All right, thank you. Is there any other suggestions for future agenda items? Okay, hearing none, then I would look for a motion to adjourn. So moved. Okay, moved by Mr. Waddle, second. Second by Mr. Gray. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Remember, we'll meet next Tuesday at 6.